and welcome back to Queerography, the podcast where we share our queer stories. I'm your host, Michaela Angemeer, poet, author, and artist. And today, I'm going to be talking about a lot of things, but it all kind of centers around trying to figure out if I want to ever have a baby. I feel like I should just jump into it. So I turn 31 next month, November 18th. Shout out Scorpios. And I've been reading and thinking and wondering about babies a lot. And because of this, I've taken a few actions in the last couple months that haven't had the best outcomes, to be honest. And I figure I'll make this podcast while I'm in the thick of it because I feel unwell, to be honest. I'm hoping this reaches who it needs to. And I hope that, like, by me talking through these painful experiences, and honestly, like, I know I'm like one of those people that like laughs when I'm uncomfortable. So I feel like my like affect throughout this is going to be inappropriate. So sorry in advance. I know too, like the discussion of having a baby is also like very heavy and heated for people. And it is for me too, but okay, we'll begin here. So I've always been like, I'd say like on the fence about whether or not I want to have kids. And that's why like I get like if it's been your dream to have a baby like since you were little and like motherhood you really feel like is meant for you and you have like some of the difficulties I'm talking about, I get that like this conversation becomes way more loaded because it is like a dream for you versus me where I'm like honestly just trying to figure out if I even want to have a baby or if I can even have a baby. Which is also part of this conversation. So I get it. Like, and if you're going to be triggered, like I'm going to be talking about hormonal balance, like my own possible infertility, and just generally talking about having a baby in like a neutral way. So if that triggers you, please don't listen to this. So yeah, I guess I'll begin with, I read the book Motherhood. Who was it by? Let me figure it out for you. Sheila Heti. That's what I thought. And essentially, it's really cool if you're into like philosophy or I don't know, just like hearing like inner workings of someone and like their thoughts. It's a really interesting book and I would recommend it to you. It's definitely not like it's honestly not like a book I've ever read before. It's like some story based, like she's sharing anecdotes from her own life, her experiences with her own mother, her experiences with friends and friends who have kids, her own thoughts around motherhood. And ultimately, I think she decides to not have a baby. Spoiler alert. But just like the way she works through it is so interesting. She like calls on, I think it's like an ancient Chinese like coin or like method that you use to like question and get answers and like question the universe in a way. If I'm butchering that, I'm very sorry. I can't find what it actually is though. Yeah, so that's really interesting because she's essentially asking these open-ended questions and then like getting the answers from this coin and then using that to like bring her internal monologue forward, which is very interesting. So because I don't know if I want to have kids or not, obviously this was a book that was like very interesting to me and I read it. Did it make me decide if I want to have kids or not? No, it didn't really do anything. Didn't work like that. But it got me thinking about it more, and I think backstory on me, I went on birth control when I was 16. I've been off of it once or maybe twice. Honestly, my memory is so bad. I think I definitely went off of it in my early 20s, and then maybe I tried again later, but I distinctly remember going off it in my early 20s, and I think I didn't get my period for like a year. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go back on it. And that was that. Right. In my early 20s, I just had no, like, I wouldn't even say I knew I had anxiety in my early 20s. So I definitely didn't understand or like realize when I had depressive symptoms. So I think, I mean, everyone's early 20s I know are just generally wild and I think I was like also drinking a lot. So like maybe I had like alcoholism and I was depressed, and maybe I was depressed and drinking, and like, they go hand in hand. So I like honestly, like, time is so like foggy and strange to me, and I can't see it through any like reasonable lens because I just don't have a good enough memory of it. But if I think of what has happened lately going off birth control, I'm like, okay, that like adds some more color to what happened in my early 20s. So essentially, because I know that like, oh, even before that. So I literally went on birth control because I wasn't getting my period regularly. And that was when I was around 16. I think I got my period at 12. And then I had acne and was having an irregular period when I was around 16. Like sometimes not getting it for like, I feel like 5 months. So we went to the doctor, and of course the doctor's like, you have acne, you're not getting your period, take birth control. So I was on birth control, went off of it for a little bit, at least once, and then have been on it again for like 10 years. And now, obviously, if I'm thinking about if I can have a baby, period, like I don't even know if I can have a baby. I was like, okay, let me go off birth control and see like what my body does. I'm in a queer relationship, so I don't need to be on birth control. Well, questionable. And that is, I think, a big part of this whole conversation we're going to be having today, because I think birth control was medicating my PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which I'll talk about more. And now that I'm off of it, I think I'm just like kind of living in the worst state of like my PMDD symptoms. And I've been there for like 3 months, which is really scary. Let me just give some context for PMDD if you don't know what it is. It says people with premenstrual dysphoric disorder have PMS symptoms, bloating, headaches, and breast tenderness in the weeks before their period. But PMDD also causes severe anxiety, depression, and mood changes. Some people with PMDD become, what's the word I probably can't say on YouTube? We'll say some people with PMDD have thoughts of unaliving. Hormonal birth control and antidepressants can relieve symptoms. Symptoms include anger or irritability, feeling on edge, overwhelmed or tense, anxiety and panic attacks, depression and thoughts of unaliving, difficulty concentrating, fatigue and low energy, food cravings, binge eating or changes in appetite, headaches, insomnia, and mood swings. I feel like I've been experiencing almost all of these, if not all of them, kind of on and off for 3 months. Which is just true. I don't really even know what to say. It's obviously not good. And I don't want to feel like this anymore. So that's a thing. I haven't got my period for 3 months. I felt like really disconnected from my body. And just like, I don't know, even when I was going off birth control, I was like, like not getting my period. That's great. I won't get my period. But I think like having these are like symptoms when I was on birth control and had PMDD symptoms, they would be like maybe like for a week and a half before my period. So at least I had like 2.5 weeks. Yeah, every month where I was feeling like, I don't know, like dealing with some baseline anxiety and depression always, but I feel like the birth control was successfully medicating my PMDD. And now I'm like, okay, I can't just keep raw dogging life. But I want to figure out if I can have a baby. But I don't even know if I want a baby. It's a lot. It feels like a lot. So obviously if I'm not getting my period regularly, there's like questions of like, do I have PCOS or do I have a hormone imbalance? I just contacted like a local specialist that deals with hormone imbalance, but they don't have room until January to see patients. So I guess I'm on the wait list and I'll go do that in January. But honestly, I might like another thing about me, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this, like I'm just not a doctor person. I feel like being like a mid-sized small fat person, like the doctor just tells you to lose weight for everything, and like I don't want to, and it's like I don't want to say it's traumatizing, but it's not fun to go see the doctor and have them be like you have a hormone imbalance because you're fat. Also, when I was 16 and this originally was happening, I was like had an ED, I would say, and was under eating and was much thinner. So I don't think it's because of fat that I have hormone imbalance. Um, yeah, and I don't know, like getting blood tests, like getting blood work, and I think too, like maybe that's like part of the autism being neurodivergent and stuff. Like it just there's like I have such an internal resistance to like getting any of this figured out, and I think now I'm like at the breaking point, which is maybe why I'm making this podcast episode where I'm like, if I want to at least have the option open to me to have children, like I need to figure out what I'm gonna do to move forward. Okay. Hormone balance. So what I've been doing or trying for the past like week, I would say, my friend Sarah, shout out Sarah if you're listening to this, recommended seed cycling. I'll put a link in, I'll write down to put a link about seed cycling in the show notes. But essentially it's taking pumpkin seeds and flax seeds 2 weeks for 2 weeks and then switching and doing sesame seeds and sunflower seeds for 2 weeks. And you can sync it up with the moon. So I think up until the full moon, you're doing pumpkin and flax. And then up until the new moon, you're doing sunflower and sesame. I tried to find research for it. It hasn't been studied that much. There are some studies around like just increase intake in the vitamins that these seeds have that like say it doesn't have a statistically significant effect. I did find one study, I think it was out of India, but like honestly, I feel like my brain right now is mush, which like probably again is a side effect of the fact that I went off birth control and I'm having these crazy PMDD symptoms. So I like didn't even have the energy to check if it was like a real peer-reviewed study, but the study in India did say that people with PCOS did benefit from seed cycling. And honestly, so one is like I don't know if it's a strange symptom. I mean, there's nothing wrong with acne. If you have acne, there's literally nothing wrong with acne, period. But for me, like when I was on birth control, I wasn't getting any acne, and I don't really even remember getting acne as a teenager. But like my acne right now is was like so bad, which just like it's again it's like if you deal with that and it's like a regular part of your life, I feel like it's not like it's totally fine. Just for me, it was like okay, obviously my body's like freaking out and like doing something different than it normally does. Um, and I know that's like a symptom of hormone imbalance too. It's like increased acne. My face hasn't been that bad, which I guess is like very nice and a blessing. And I mean, well, it's been I just always have acne, so it's like nothing I am not used to or like can't handle. But the back, especially, I was like, this feels like my body's like screaming at me. And then also getting like I guess they're like clogged pores or like kind of like acne around like my downstairs parts and not like I researched a lot about this. It's like, yeah, it's essentially like a pimple down there, which is like really uncomfortable. I'll get it like where my underwear kind of like rubs. I don't want to be like pulling out my pants and showing you. No. And it's just like really uncomfortable. Like I've like put a band-aid on it. Like it's just and like that also I feel like is either because of stress, my body does likes to do things like that when I'm stressed, or it's like the hormonal imbalance that I'm having being off birth control. Um and like it's weird, like I literally feel it like coming to my body. But since I started seed cycling last week, I do feel like the acne has decreased. Like I still have spots and stuff from where like the active acne was before, but I feel like it is going down. So that's cool. Love that for me. Um Yeah, so okay, getting my period. That's the thing I want to talk about too. So, I think if like it just like was like I wasn't getting my period, I don't know if I would be like that upset or mad about it. I've been thinking too, like, and I think this is too part of like the question of whether or not I want a kid is like my own connection with like motherhood slash being a woman slash femininity, and like in the past couple years feeling like I fit, like I feel non-binary, like I feel like I don't fit inside this like two gender system. And I just don't, and I think honestly like maybe this is a common experience for maybe like a lot of lesbians or just like queer people in general, where like the world doesn't feel like it was made or like designed for you. I just I didn't feel like other girls. No, but I do feel like other girls. I feel I felt like a resonance with girlhood, I think, but I just like never was that interested in having a wedding. Like never was that interested in getting married or having a family. And then like when I did have those thoughts later in life or felt like that was what I was supposed to do, it was exactly that, like feeling like that I was supposed to do. It wasn't like coming from an innate desire within me. So again, like not being able to have a baby is not that distressing to me, but I think just like feeling like my body and my brain, it's going to make me cry. Like aren't synced up, and like feeling like my body is like confused. Like I feel bad for it. And even like talking about my body, like it's not my body, like that's how like disconnected I feel for myself right now. Um like honestly, probably after this podcast I'll go like make an appointment with my doctor because like I need help. It's like, yeah, I just feel like obviously not good. Um and like yeah, I was even talking to my girlfriend about it. I was like I don't think my potential future baby would like want me to be doing this to figure out if I can have a baby or not. You know, it just feels like it's not um the right way to do it. But also like, and I think about like the stigma with medication and everything, and it's like if I don't want to take birth control, is going on antidepressants the answer? And it's like maybe it is. Or is this like a sign that I'm just not supposed to have children? I guess okay, I'm gonna talk more about like the actual thought of wanting or not wanting kids, because I think that's what I'm titling this episode, maybe what you want to hear about. Okay, so I love children. I feel like I have done a lot of inner child healing in the past couple years, and like the ways that children triggered me before, they don't trigger me anymore. And I literally see kids as like beautiful little magical aliens that are so creative and just filled with joy and life and like an energy that is like I like honestly believe what keeps society going. And I feel bad for the way that kids are not treated like they're part of society and they're ignored and they're not important and their thoughts don't matter. So I have this real like reverence and appreciation for children. Like I think like I love talking to kids, like of talking to teenagers. Like I just think they're just the way that they see the world. And I remember even I don't know it. It's so weird. Like I feel like I'll always feel like part of me will always feel 17. And I remember my own thoughts and feelings, and I like literally have diaries from all the way from age 7 to now. Honestly. And I just remember like I was so tapped in and so in tune and so smart, and obviously like I didn't know a lot about the world, but I just still feel so connected to that part of myself, and then just like have such a celebration or feel such a celebration of children. So I think that's like the big thing that like leans me into being like, okay, I want to have a kid. Um, but then obviously being queer and having PMDD and possibly, I don't know, I don't want to like half diagnose myself with things that like people have real diagnoses for, and like there's a lot of hurt around that diagnosis. Um, I'll just say like what I've thought of possibly. And I mean, if I'm talking about these things like hormone imbalance and my experiences, you're probably thinking about this too. You're probably diagnosing me in your head. So I'm just going to do the same thing that you're doing. But I thought about if I have PCOS, and that I know can like be associated with infertility. So there's that, which like is, I think if you're someone that wants to have a kid, like that's a really hard thing to deal with. If you really want to have a kid and you're straight, like that's a lot. And I hold space and grief for you. And again, like if this triggers you, like please take care of yourself and don't listen to this. But I think then on top of it being queer, I'm like, it's not like I can just like have sex with my partner and then have a baby. Like if I decide that I want to have a baby and I figure out this hormonal stuff so that I'm getting my period regularly or at all, honestly, literally getting it at all, then we'll like literally have to be like researching options of like how to literally have a baby. I don't know if it's like, why am I like, is it illegal to talk about this? But I don't think it's illegal to talk about this. My brain is weird sometimes. I saw a TikTok about someone that they use like the cup, like the diva cup method. I don't know if you can picture what this is, but essentially you find a man that you want to be like your, can I say sperm? I can say sperm. I'll say sperm. This is not monetized yet, so I can say whatever I want. Okay, you find a man that you want to be your sperm donor and essentially get him to donate in a diva cup, and then the person with vagina, you put the diva cup inside of you and you let nature do its thing. And I've seen a few TikToks like from people who actually did it and it worked. So, but anyway, it's like you have to like find a donor. You have to like coordinate it that with someone. I don't know. Like, I don't know the difference between doing that or going to sperm donor. Like I haven't like a sperm donor bank. I haven't even like seen the stuff about it. I think I like that. I like the idea you just like literally put a diva cup in you. That like seems so simple to me versus like having to get shots for fertility and like getting your eggs retrieved and getting them inseminated. Like I don't even like IVF. I think that's what that's called. Honestly, it's like clearly I haven't even got to that part yet of this like education for myself because I'm literally like I'm not even getting my period. So let's figure out one thing at a time. Right, back to do I want to have kids? I did not like I wrote some notes for this, but I didn't write as much notes as usual. So if you find it disarming the way that I'm jumping from topic to topic, you can let me know and I will take that feedback into account. But I have undiagnosed ADHD, so let's keep rolling. Kids are wonderful. Babies. Oh, babies. I think with my mental instability, especially right now, the way I get overstimulated very easily, like my need for rest, my need to be alone, that honestly, that's like I would say is what's keeping me back from having a baby or any kid, period. Because I know, like even when your child is more self-sufficient, they still require a lot of care and a lot of attention. And unless you're like really planning out time for yourself to be alone and you have like the resources and the privilege to like outsource childcare, you're with your kid like all the time. And I don't want to be with anyone all the time. So that's why that's why I haven't had a baby yet, obviously, because I don't think I'm there mentally to like be responsible for another person, essentially above myself, for 24 hours of the day. And even thinking about that, I think there's like a through line here that I'm trying to figure out, especially my mental health and my hormones, because I think they obviously go hand in hand, and trying to figure that out. And then if I'm feeling like more of a stable person, but then see, and that's the thing too. It's like maybe this is even an ableist way to think because like who is to say that I'm always like you can't like perfectly control your mental health, even if I do get on medication or if I go back on birth control or like whatever I end up figuring out. Like, things in my life will happen that will affect my mental health and like will affect my ability to take care of my children. And I know that like happens every day to people that are parents. And it's like really hard and it's a lot to figure out. And I think with uncertainty and like maybe that's like part of my desire for control too. I'm like, it's like it feels like a large burden and a lot of pressure. And I think I'm like in a way privileged to have the thoughts about this and like to have the education and to have even just like through knowing people like that have shared their real experiences about parenting with me, um or people I don't even know, like seeing stories shared online. Like I think it's like parenthood to me is very serious. And I think because I have that like extreme like I want to say I keep wanting to say reverence, but I don't even know if I'm using that word right. Reverence. Reverence, yeah, deep respect for someone or something. For children that I'm like I don't want to like make this decision lightly. I want to relate it to what I'm thinking of as like the grief of queerness or periods of like grief as a queer person. And okay, bear with me for a second. So I feel like this is the first time in a really long time for me that my mind is less safe than my surroundings. And especially with, I- I'm literally just going to say it. So if this makes you upset, like, I don't care. The genocide happening in Palestine right now, it's like, I feel like I'm so aware of my own safety and the like huge privilege and just like the disgusting horrifying horrors that are like literally as I'm talking about like talking right now there's probably people being killed. There is people being killed in Palestine and that's like I can't even like honestly like there's not even words or anything that like useful I feel like I can even say other than free Palestine. So thinking of that right now too like just adds this whole I'd say like in my little human like skin, my little soul suit, like I don't even feel like I have the capacity to like deal with any of this, you know? So it's like feeling like my mind is less safe than my surroundings in a way is such a privilege. And like being able to even think about my mental health because I'm so safe in my surroundings is such a privilege. Um, and I fully recognize that. But then just being like a human person who lives on this earth, it's scary for your mind to feel less safe than your surroundings. The negative thoughts, the thought spirals, the worry, the anxiety, feeling like I feel like utterly out of control. Um, Even honestly, like in my business and stuff, I'm just like worried about the future of that. Um, and it really feels like it's like one brick and another on top of it. And then through all that, yeah, I know this is like, yeah, I know I'm privileged and I know that you guys know that I know that. So I don't think I have to keep saying it. But it's scary to me like how fast like the switch has flipped of like feeling like so safe and good and happy when I was on birth control to now like and I'm even like is it like linked is that linked to my finances? Is my hormonal balance like linked to like my ability to think like have an abundance mindset? Like honestly maybe. All that said, I said I was going to talk about the grief of queerness. When I feel so like out of control and like mentally so unsafe, I feel like that makes me want to seek comfort in oppression. Bear with me. And it's a privilege to do that. But I feel like a lot of people seek comfort in oppression when things are uncomfortable in their lives. And right now, I feel like I'm going really through a big transformation in general. And I do believe that all of these things are happening for a reason. And like, I'm at a very low point mentally because I'm like in a period of transformation and like being pushed to like literally redefine who I am and like my career, which is crazy to say. And I really want to keep going with this, and I want to like keep seeking discomfort and like keep pushing myself outside of my comfort zone and creating things and like doing things that are scary to me. But I think because I feel so mentally unsafe right now, I can just feel myself like going. I don't want to say I want like wanting to be straight, but there's definitely like, I don't know if it's like an envy. I don't know the difference between envy and jealousy, to be honest. It's one of the two. A jealousy of straight people right now. And just like, this is very specific and random, but we rented an Airbnb in Maine last week, and the family that owned the Airbnb, they like had their own property, and then there's like the Airbnb, it was like this little cute little cabin, and they have like a little like a chicken farm, and like the husband like works at a brewery, and the wife is like an artist and a mom, and they have like two beautiful children, and like they just like live in Maine and like the beautiful mountains, like so close to the ocean. And it's just like I was like, I feel like I felt like really jealous. Like I was like, this seems like, and I mean that's just a sick life period. So I think like maybe even you're straight, you could be jealous of them. But just and I think that's like too, like maybe that like I'm obviously romanticizing them, and I think because I'm in a weak mental space, like I was able to romanticize them in maybe like a toxic way. But just like the way that their life seems so easy and so simple, and I'm like, I'm sure it's not, you know? Like no one's life is that easy or that simple. But just, and I think because they had kids too, I think that's like what really brought this up too. At least even if their life is hard, they could just have kids, you know? And maybe that's a sign that I actually do want kids if I feel like that. But I'm like scared. Yeah, obviously I'm scared to have children. Anyway, so I think the fact that like even the way I thought of that was like, wow, it's so much easier for straight people, I think is like really telling of the way that I see comfort in oppression, and the way that like when things are hard, it's really hard to see your queerness as liberation. And I mean, like, there's literally, I don't know if you're not in Canada, you probably don't even know what the 1 million March for Children is. Essentially, parents are mad that their kids are learning that you can have gay parents. Like, I don't even know what they're mad about, honestly. But they're just having all these rallies and marches and yelling that they hate gay people, and it's just really, they will tell you that they're not doing that, but there's literally videos, so I don't I don't know what to tell you. Um, it feels like that like really piles on top of it, and like I was having this conversation with my girlfriend too, where we were like, at one sense it's like, what losers, like go take care of your children, like be parents. Why are you some people are like bringing their kids to these rallies. It's like it's like, literally you're a loser and you have too much time on your hands. That's like one perspective. But then on the other perspective, it's like these people are, through the guise of we don't want our kids learning about this, they're advocating like for the full erasure of queer people. Like they don't want queer people to exist, period. And if that's not true, I mean, that's the message that's being sent to me. So figure it out. I don't know. Like figure out messaging because it's not working. And I think just all that stuff, it just like, it really like sucks the joy out of being queer. And I think if I was mentally in a better place right now, I would not be feeling like this because I feel so mentally unwell. I think I'm like really letting it get to me, and it's kind of just piling on. And like I just keep, it's really like it's heteronormativity, honestly, because I just keep being like, all this would be so much easier if I was straight. Because, like, if I was straight and I went off birth control and I wanted to see if I could have a baby, I could literally just have sex with my partner and we could see if I could have a baby. You know? Like, I'm not going to go, like, seek out a sperm donor. Like, to begin that process seems like so, it's just like, so, like, it's the difference between, like, literally just, like, taking your pants off and, like, going to multiple doctors and, like, beginning a process that's, like, I actually don't even know how much it costs. It's probably expensive and it probably takes a really long time. Which is why I do like the Tiva Cup option. If you know anyone that's done that, let me know, because that seems cool. And maybe that is more simple. So that's nice. That's a glimmer of hope. I know, like, I have this privilege of moving through my discomfort to my liberation. And, like, I really wish that on everyone. And I think, like, just how this even plays out in the world, like, again, I keep saying it's a choice to be gay. You're gonna start, like, putting me on anti-gay podcast. No, but I think that a lot of people choose to be straight because if you don't feel comfortable in life, you seek, like, what is comfortable and you seek to, like, fit into the norm. In a way, I don't know if it's a privilege because, like, if you're not visibly queer, I guess you can, I mean, even if you are visibly queer, like, you can pretend you're not. Where, like, obviously, if we're talking about privilege and oppression, like, if you're a person of color, this is not an option for you. You can't choose to be white. And I get that there's, like, so much intersectionality here. But, and if you're, like, if I'm going through what I'm going through right now as a white person, like, does add such an extra layer of privilege to me because of the comfort that I'm provided by my skin color, which is also messed up. But I think maybe the point of sharing this mumbo jumbo, whatever I'm talking about right now, is I'm really trying to move through this discomfort to my liberation. And I don't want to, like, feel like I should be straight. And it's like, that's like how dark this mind palace is right now, is that I'm like, that makes me want to cry. Like, should I just be straight? Like, what? But it's real dark in there. It's real dark in there. And I guess this is what I wrote. Maybe I'm doing this podcast right now because I feel disconnected from myself and I feel disconnected from my queerness. And, like, maybe there's, like, part of me that's, like, trying to hide and, like, wants to remain smaller, become smaller. And for some reason, like, my brain is making me jealous of straight people. I don't know. I think I'm gonna stop there. This is a wild ride. If you're worried about me after listening to this, I am, like, I'm talking about it. Obviously, I'm putting out a podcast about it, so I'm talking about it. I did seek out this hormone therapy person. I am trying seed cycling. I'm gonna talk to my doctor to see, even though that's very horrible and scary to me, I will do it to see if there's other options to birth control. And to figure this out so I can feel happier and better and more in my body and enjoy the privilege and the beautiful life that I live and that I'm so lucky to live, and that right now I can't enjoy it. Yeah, I can't enjoy it because of my brain. All right. Don't worry. Actually, like, don't worry about, maybe worry about me. Maybe that's an issue too. You know what? Maybe worry about me. I'm worried about me. So if you want to worry about me too, you can. But I am going to get help. Okay. Thanks for listening. And I'm going to be trying to record this more consistently. And I'm going to try to actually have guests because I keep saying it's a podcast where we share our queer stories. And here I am alone. Actually, I'm going to try to get Jess, my girlfriend, to come on. So if you want that, let me know. As always, what am I saying here? If you're watching this on YouTube and you've made it to the end, wow, what a warrior. Love you. Please like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, please follow. Feels insane for me to be like, worry about me. My mental health is bad. And then I'm like and follow this podcast. You know what? I'm going to stop. That's it. That's all I have to say. You can engage with this podcast however you want. Okay. Love you. Bye.